As I mentioned in my sandboxing or railroading video, neither of those are good or bad in and of itself. And after making a railroading video, I only thought it fair to make a sandboxing one as well, so you can avoid the loops and traps that come with sandboxing and use it as a powerful tool to make your campaign a success. The main reason why sandboxing is fun is because it gives the players a lot of freedom to interact with the world, and that can lead to situations and scenes that can even surprise you as a GM. That highlights what is most important in a good sandboxing game, and that is player initiative. So they take action and actually have an interesting plot. To make sure that your PCs have a good motivation to act upon, you should discuss it openly. Have a session 0 where everyone can finish their characters and you can discuss their motivations, what goals they have, what problems they have, and how that all comes together to form a sort of overarching group motivation that will drive the group's actions in the campaign to come. You can use your session 0 to have your players narrate a typical day in their characters' lives, and you as a GM can take note of which persons they interact with, which NPCs are important to them, what their jobs are, what locations they hang out in their free time, and use that to build and enrich your gaming world. If your players are having trouble taking the initiative, you can always introduce an antagonist. Someone who will take initiative and action and drive the plot forward when the PCs don't. They are still free to react in any way they want, but they take a bit of a more reactionary role this way. Now that we have the basics down, let me introduce you to my way of preparing a sandbox, which is my favorite kind of game to run, because it's easy to get bogged down in the preparations. Now, here's the real trick. Your players, and certainly their characters, have only a very limited information and knowledge about their world. So you don't have to prepare the whole wide world. You have to know the gist of it, what your world is about. But for your game, you only need to prepare the locations of the immediate action. Maybe prepare one village, maybe a town, maybe one part of a bigger city. And that is usually enough to run your game. You can draw a map of your town and its surroundings, and I always find that drawing a map is a very inspirational exercise where I get a lot of my ideas. But at this point, a very rough map is more than enough. You don't need exact sizes and distances, probably never. A rough outline is more than enough. One trick I lifted off Invisible Sun is that you prepare your NPCs and locations without context. While you prepare your adventure, you don't have to know where on the map the location will be placed. You don't have to know which role your NPC will be filling, if it will be an ally or a foe or just a random encounter without consequence on the road. Only when your PCs start interacting with your gaming world do you put these pieces into context. Now, if the players are looking for a cursed artifact, take your cursed tower, take your crazy artificer NPC and put it in there, and you've got the wizard in his tower guarding the artifact. You can usually get by having like 3 to 6 locations and NPCs that haven't been used that for one gaming session, and just run with that. Part of your world building should be different factions that hold power over one area or aspect of your gaming world. Give these factions their own motivations and their own means of achieving these motivations. And then you can use them as ally or quest giver or foe to your PCs, depending on where the plot is going, what the PCs are doing. And in between sessions, you think, how did the PC's action influence these factions? And what will the factions do next to achieve their own goals? And how will that affect the PC's actions in the game to come? And that will help you prepare for the next session. Usually 2 or 3 factions is a good place to start. If you find that your game is going nowhere and the players don't know what to do, there are a few things you can do. I like to tell my players what obvious actions they could take, what their options are, just to give them some pointers. If they still don't know what to do, you can discuss the problem out of game. Maybe go back to first principles. What are the characters' motivations? What are the group motivations? Maybe it is time to introduce a new antagonist to drive the game forward. If you find that your setting has become a bit boring and stale, you can introduce an event that affects all of the PCs, the antagonists, and the factions. Maybe a new faction rises to power. Maybe there's a natural disaster like a volcano eruption, or maybe a zombie plague. Something to shake up the status quo and get the plot moving again. This is what advice I have. How do you run a sandbox? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.